So through this podcast, I am telling anyone anywhere in the world who is talented enough and feels that IIT Kharagpur is a good home for them for PhD or postdoc or early career faculty, I take the responsibility of fast tracking it. Is AI blessing or curse?
What jobs do you see being relevant in the next 5 to 10 years?
IIT Kharagpur's glory is well known, but we cannot just sit on our past glory. We have to set up the trends for the future. All of you who have been students, we have also been students, that the night before the submission, what we do for a BTP thesis or BTP report.
So, what are the immediate focus areas for you? KGP in the recent times have had almost 3 to 4 suicides as well. What are some of the steps that you as a director will also take to make the life of students as well as the other faculty members also better, because everyone is in a lot of stress as well? So, welcome everyone to IIT Podcast with Somnath, your host. And today is a very special show and easily the most high profile guest that has been on the show yet. I'm deeply and truly honored to welcome Professor Suman Chakraborty, who has recently taken helm as the Director of IIT Kharagpur, one of India's most prestigious institutions. He's distinguished mechanical engineer and a pioneering force in microfluids and nano-scale transport, with groundbreaking research, of course, leading to remarkable innovations in affordable diagnostic technologies like CoviRap, HemoQR, and the revolutionary paper and pencil microfluidics. Professor Chakraborty's profound contributions have earned him numerous high honors, including the prestigious 2026 TWS Award in Engineering and Computer Sciences, which is awarded by UNESCO, the National Award for Teachers, the Infosys Prize of 2022, and the highly coveted Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize, India's highest scientific honor. So his work consistently aims to improve healthcare access for marginalized populations, making them accessible and affordable. And it is a privilege to have him with us today. So welcome, Professor Chakraborty.
Yeah, thanks Somnath for this very generous introduction, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this discussion because as professors or administrators, whatever, we are in very serious meetings, and I feel this is a bit of a relief from that. So I'm also eagerly looking forward.
And Professor Chakraborty, for some of you who have known and might not know, is not new to this YouTube scene at all. He has his own YouTube channel. He's done podcasts before as well, and he has done TEDx talks. So we'll list down all of those videos in the description, and then we can proceed with this podcast. So the structure of the podcast will maybe keep it a little broad, starting with discussions regarding strategy, research in IITs, nation buildings, mental health, and then we'll delve into some of the specifics of policies with the new administration. We'll address some of the concerns about PhDs, BTechs, and MTechs. Then we'll keep a separate section for AI as well. I have crowdsourced a few questions from social media, from my batchmates on WhatsApp. There's a huge fan following of Professor amongst our group, and also on Reddit and other platforms. And also we'll go into advice for young aspirants for JEE. So diving straight into the first topic, which is taken directorship of the new IIT, which is the oldest and the grandest, biggest of IITs. So what are the immediate focus areas for you? Some of them may be short term, some of them may be medium or long term. So what are the priorities for you right now?
No, absolutely very important, because we have many issues to work upon, but we cannot work on everything at a time. So we have to set our priorities, and I have already set certain priorities on a personal level before even I got this particular responsibility or this appointment. Just as a senior professor, if I am asked that what are the priorities, I think that should resonate with the administration anyway. So broadly, if we say that IIT Kharagpur's glory is well known, but we cannot just sit on our past glory. No, we have to set up the trends for the future, and fortunately some unique aspects of IIT Kharagpur which are perceived to be challenges by some are our opportunities. So I would like that we as an institution build upon those very unique opportunities, and the entire strategy therefore will focus on some of the priority areas which are based on our uniqueness, and the uniqueness in terms of our heritage, our location, and the challenges around, typically the socio-economic challenges, challenges with the campus life. You talked about the students, and students are major components of the campus life, but it is not just straightforward to imagine that challenges are only with students. If you talk about mental health, or in whatever way you call, believe me or not, the senior ones, even the very senior faculty members in some cases are also very well, very high, stressed on a very high level. The way in which they can manage is that they have seen more in life, so they are more mature and they have a way to manage the stress, but it doesn't mean that they are like in supreme happiness. So all what we have to see is that how we can connect all these and develop new programs, be it on infrastructure, human resource, internationalization, entrepreneurship, and sustainable livelihood, and smart administration. So these are certain things which automatically came to my mind, but I may have missed one or two points. Now all these we can do by a combination of what we say as deep tech and AI on one hand, and human centric approach on the other. And this combination, this balance, is, I think, that what everyone expects from a good, empathetic, and passionate administration. And that is what is, you can say, overall, if you think about the conceptual foundation on which our administration will move forward, is this.
One of the topics that comes readily because you have been a top researcher in India and you have been recognized globally as well for your research. So, as director, what are the research improvements or facility improvements that you can think of that will help people who are in their maybe PhD programs or maybe even BTechs trying to research on their own projects as well? What are the improvements that you are trying to make their life easier?
I will start with the BTech. I mean, typically you might expect that I will start with the PhD, but I will start with the BTech because, in my own impression of mentoring young students, typically when I was myself a early career faculty member, in those days, having a PhD student in a junior faculty level was not that straightforward. I mean, uh, there were not enough numbers of PhD students, and if they were there, they would usually be distributed to senior ones, with exceptions, of course. So, for maybe a long period of time with a transition period, my entire research backbone were BTech students. Believe me or not, if you look into my first maybe 2 3 years of publication after joining IIT Kharagpur, data will prove it, that more than 50%, or maybe what percentage I cannot tell readily, but at least more than 50% were there with co-authors as BTech students. And many of these BTech students later on emerged to be my own PhD students. And some of them are currently faculty members at different IITs and even abroad. Like in IIT Kharagpur, three of my former BTech and PhD students combined are faculty members. Professor Aditya Bandyopadhyay and Jibanjyoti Chakraborty from my own department, and Professor Chirodeep Bakli from the Energy Science and Engineering. So they were all associated starting from their second year BTech to PhD level. In a loose sense, I can tell KG to PG, something like that. So from very young boys, I saw them growing to a level that they became at some point of time my teacher in a different way. So what I realize is that we have a huge untapped potential of our BTech students. BTech students, I will tell you one thing, that in research, if you want to do well, you need knowledge. But sometimes knowledge is a curse rather than blessing. Because if you know too much, your free mind doesn't move. So someone like me, who have taught for maybe more than 20 years fluid mechanics, if some topic comes, I will always initially be limited by that, what is that apparently high level, theoretical or conceptual knowledge in fluid mechanics, which because of my teaching and research, it's more like a routine thing for me. But there could be many lateral ideas which only if you know less you can come up with. So I would say that if you are sharp, if you are interested to learn, see what is good about our BTech students is, see, JE rank doesn't reflect as such anything, but to me it reflects at least they have aptitude and the ability to learn. That is important for me. Otherwise I don't care about what is the JE rank, because we know that in most of the cases it is a bit of structured hard work rather than the raw talent which is culminating into this rank, and nothing wrong with that. But what I realize is that the JE performance implicitly emphasizes their aptitude of getting into new things, delving into new opportunities, and apply their mind to solve those problems. And that is why you will see that many of our BTech students in their later part of the career are not at all doing anything which is related to their BTech specialization. I think this is true for more than 90%, if not 100. So that is a raw aptitude more than anything else. So in research, this raw aptitude is very important. This ability to think laterally and try to infuse different lateral ideas to bring in innovation into the framework. So if there is someone who is an experienced professor who constrains that with certain formalities and how a research has to be done, what is called as grammar of research, then this is a deadly combination, because the fresh ideas and enthusiasm of a young BTech with the maturity of a senior researcher or the knowledge of a senior researcher, if this could be combined, I think we can produce grand ideas out of the research of the BTech students. I will try to sit with a few faculty members and maybe some student representatives to work out a serious research program for BTech students, not like a BTP or that type of thing which is there. All of you who have been students, we have also been students, that the night before the submission, what we do for a BTP thesis or BTP report, whatever you call. And now in the chat GPT era, we know that doesn't matter if you don't know the subject, and all our students are smart, they will give such a presentation, nobody will realize that they have done nothing. So that type of thing I don't really want for serious research. And I would like to give a provision, recognition and award based schemes for those BTech students who do well in research. Now we have the national education policy where we can bring into beyond curriculum the development of technology or any other research or scientific project, be a part of their recognition through grades, awards, etc. So this will look like out of the normal credit system, but I would like to introduce this as a bonus credit to those who do it well and connect it with the different technology based developments that we can do for our neighborhood society and all those things. So whatever were our this NSO type of programs, which is anyway the second year the young BTech students will do, more or less it for a long period of time has been like a charity, that they are poor people, you give them this, that. So this donation mode actually doesn't work. You have to uplift them, and you can uplift them by empowering and empowering can be through the cutting edge advancements of science and technology. That is what as IIT we can do, right? So we should not uh, be a supporter of nurturing generations of beggars and say that we are very kind, so we will give them this and that. This is good in a way that it shows that we are kind hearted, but what we should do is to make sure that make an effort that there is no beggar and there is no question of someone who is asking for our mercy. So that we need a serious group of BTech students, and I will try to structure a platform so that they will get a recognition to this. From my experience, I have realized that from second year level, say there is a dual degree student. From second year level, if the student is engaged, then the student is there for the institute for 4 years from second year. These 4 years, they can come up with a performance which is like a PhD thesis. And then we will see that with a bit of enhancement of 1 or 2 more years where they fulfill the requirements of PhD, we can give them a fast track PhD directly from BTech to PhD.
That's wonderful.
So, why not? Why not? So, this is about the BTech students. For masters and PhD students, I think that what hurts me is implicitly they are treated as a second class citizen of the student community. This is very unfortunate. And the way in which it is done, it is like a social taboo that someone coming through JE advanced or what versus the rest is as if like, there is a caste system already created. This is nonsense, absolute nonsense. I have seen or handled many students. There have been absolutely fantastic BTech students. I mean, perhaps there cannot be a better brain in the world. But I have also encountered such BTech students. I have myself asked a question, my God, this student, how he got chance in IIT? I mean, it is impossible for such a student to get into a chance, even a very lower grade university. So, on the other hand, some of the PhD students, see, you have to imagine one thing. IIT cracking requires IIT JE preparation. That all of us have to admit. IIT JE preparation has to do a lot on the socio-economic background of the student and the overall awareness. So if that is not there, many will get into good government colleges or other colleges by virtue of their performance up to the high school level, but they are very talented. I have handled several PhD students, not just one, who were first generation learners in their village, and maybe one student who was the first student to cross class 12 level in the entire village. So that student or those students, when they came to IIT first, it had been a cultural shock because they found it's a bit of a, what I would say, mental makeup, that as if they are fish out of water, they cannot mix well with people. But once we are there to give them courage to overcome that barrier, because of the raw talent and the greed for learning, which is more for them because they have to prove, that they are really good, and they have done wonders. And they are now placed in all around the world, including top-notch institutions in India and abroad and all. And now we will not recognize from what kind of socio-economic background they came. So there are such many what I call as neglected group of students. Even the students who are from some places who are marginalized and sort of prejudiced because they have not got chance in a IIT like institution, maybe they are studying in some other AICT institutions, AICT recognized institutions. I look into the data of the students who are very active in startups under the Startup India campaign, and I see majority of the students are from those places. AICT chairman also agrees to that. He made a statement, Professor Sitaram, he made a statement like this, and it is based on data. He did not make a statement with just perception. He has been an IISc professor, so he knows IIT IISc mindset. So somehow we have to bring them into the ambition of IIT, because IIT is a hub but there is no reason to believe that we should not have good spokes. And I think with the student ecosystem, with the PhD, postdoc, which is a weak link at IIT, uh, whoever, all of us who have been reasonably connected with very reputed foreign universities, we know very well, in my experience of teaching and research there, I have seen that usually professors do not spend that much of time on their uh, you know undergraduate or up to the PhD level students as what we do in IITs. We spend much more time, and the reason is that we do not have that intermediate layer which will create as a link between the professors and the inexperienced students, and that intermediate layer is a postdoc. So there are several postdocs, and how they do it. See, MIT postdoc, for example. So a MIT postdoc is one among the best of all the PhD students everywhere in the world. So that MIT postdoc is intellectually so independent that that postdoc can drive certain areas of research, guide many PhD and maybe masters or even undergraduate interns, and professor is there to just fine tune certain ideas or give high level ideas, but professor's main job is to go and search for good research funds for the sustenance. So this is the outlook that one should have at IIT also. So this depends on a complete upliftment of our cultural perception about our research students, PhD and postdoc. So that requires a sort of a drive, and I am ready to give that drive. So through this podcast, I am telling anyone anywhere in the world who is talented enough, of Indian origin or otherwise, and feels that IIT Kharagpur is a good home for them for PhD or postdoc or early career faculty, I take the responsibility of fast tracking it. Whatever way I will do, it's up to me. I have to get some time to make it as a part of the process. I cannot do it individually, that someone gives me a phone call, sir, I want to come. That's fine. But it is not scalable. I cannot take thousands of such cases on a case to case basis. But the spirit of this is very important, that we will formulate a process where the talented ones will get priority in whatever program they fit in our institution. And now you may ask that is it just a patriotic call that I am making? No, we are all patriots. If you see that despite getting so many opportunities at different parts of the world, I am here sticking to this because I am a by heart patriot. That is fine. But at the same time, that is not all. By emotion we cannot become the world's best. So what I realize is that there are exciting opportunities that anywhere else you cannot get. And one of those opportunities, because I work in the healthcare, applied healthcare domain, I can tell you as an example. Say someone has developed a technology which is for detecting a disease in a simple way. Now, if you want to do it in some country, some Western country, one of my students, I mean, he was a PhD student here and now he's a postdoc in a lab in Europe, very famous lab. And he was telling me this, that if you want to get a blood sample for, usually what happens is that you develop a technology and you have to validate it with the real human patient samples. So if you want to get a blood sample with, say, you want to detect, diabetes or whatever, I'm just giving it as an example. So you just simply have a ethical committee recommendation and you go to our BC Roy Technology Hospital, speak with the relevant person, maybe the head of pathology or whoever, and that person will facilitate getting samples. Is not an issue. Loosely sometimes we say that many times students are very afraid of coming to my lab because one of my research associates is always ready with a syringe and a vial and to take blood to do what you call as validation. And whenever my other students see him, somehow they will escape in a way that I'm going for tea, coffee, and they will never come back. So what we say is that it is much easier here, not because the process is simpler. Its process is simpler. More we have a huge and diverse population, and who actually need to access these facilities. So it's good for them also. So the similar blood sample, if you want to get from say one of those European labs, cost of one blood sample just for one data is €3 that you have to pay for your research. So if the professor is not having that much of research funding, and you actually require thousands of such samples to work on even a simple validation, typically 10,000 or 100,000, because in the era of data science you can come up with good analytics when you have a sufficient diversity of the data. Otherwise it is meaningless. So you can realize that this ambience where we have human resources at relatively lower cost but outstandingly brilliant. We have our rural ambience where there is absolutely dearth of facility. So with all these, we have a great chance of complementing those aspects of research which are not available elsewhere. And for a long period of time, this is my message to the outer world students who are abroad or who are thinking of going to abroad, but who are our own products, you can say, from school level or undergraduate level. How India has missed different buses in the advancement of technology. We have always been great followers. So the entire world is talking about nanotechnology. We are talking about nanotechnology. Entire world is talking about quantum technology. We are also talking about quantum technology. It is good. But what I am saying is that at the most, then what we are able to do is to keep up in pace with them. Then at the most where we are to be recognized is possibly among the greatest of the followers, but not a leader. But there are unique India centric problems like healthcare. I presented as one broadly an area. There could be very unique issues of climate change and the nexus between climate change and health, very unique in India. So all these things, you have India centric issues, but these are global issues. Malaria is a or a dengue is a great problem in India, but it is also a great problem in many parts in Africa. So what we realize is that in India we have a great opportunity of developing India centric approach, cutting edge approach to solve global problems. So, and that we can nurture because those problems are not artificial to us. So there was a time I was visiting the University of California at Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and they had a center at that time, a center for emerging and neglected diseases or something like that. So neglected disease, what is that neglected disease? Neglected disease is a disease which is not covered in the curriculum of the Western medical education, like maybe that old type of maybe polio, kalazar, all these types of things, maybe to a large extent TB, that type of thing. But it is not neglected for Indian medical education or Indian research, because these have been parts and parcels. So they have to open a special center to study that, because it is not common to them. For us it is general, and we are naturally there in such a system. So I think our knowledge naturally is much better about that. Naturally it has to be. Our doctors treat more people naturally who come from those disease backgrounds. For the Western world it has to be artificial. So they have to have a exchange program to come to us and work with us together. Why not our people grab this opportunity and develop science and technology innovations around that, and then become the global leaders? Once I mentioned in my yesterday's address that uh, there is a very attractive program, Imprint, which is a program which our uh, Ministry of Education with a companion ministry and possibly industrial partners also try to develop a program where projects will not be done for the sake of doing projects, but for creating impact by product or technology development in certain areas. And one such uh, vertical has been affordable healthcare, and I was one of the national coordinators in that Imprint One program, which was launched by our honorable Prime Minister Modi ji in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So in that address, Modi ji made a very important comment, and I think it is quite critical, that science is universal but technology must be local. And uh, this is what is our opportunity. So if we want to develop another Newton's law, we have to compete with the best of the minds who may come up with those laws from anywhere in the world. We have such minds, but it's not that easy to crack. But the local needs which drive the foundations from basic science to applied science and then technology developed and deployed, that is very unique to you know our challenge and opportunities. From the very beginning I mentioned that challenge is opportunity. So this is what is our opportunity, and that is why we can develop many unique research programs, not by copying what the Western world is doing, but developing our own agenda, which will make us true world beaters. And I'm looking forward to our friends, young colleagues who are all where everywhere in the world, uh, typically abroad, to join us. We'll simplify many procedures, but make sure that you contribute, and that's how we can really strive to be among the best, rather than being very satisfied that everyone else is doing this, so we are also doing this.
Yeah, I'll make sure to amplify your message as well. So, Professor, you spoke eloquently about the India-centric problems that we would want to solve as well. IIT KGP has a kind of a weird scenario where it's placed in a rural area, not near to Kolkata, but it's a 2 hours journey from there. But in itself, it's kind of a silo. KGP inside the campus and the KGP outside the campus is vastly different. And given almost it's been around 75 years since its foundation, the difference has only grown stronger. There are some schemes like the NSS that you mentioned, National Service Scheme, which even I was a part of. First 2 years, we went to a village and tried to teach local students about science and other topics, even some English education as well. But that in itself is not enough. So, what are some of the other steps that KGP can take through its students as well to maybe make the lives of the people better?
No, exactly, this is what I emphasized, that I have a ambition of using this platinum jubilee year as a platform to set up a model pilot village around IIT Kharagpur. So you being one of our former students, being a part of that NSO NSS program, you will know very well our rural system. I also know very well because my wife is a principal of one such school. So I am really connected to the grassroots level, and I do a lot of medical camps and other things in those places. So I'm not telling this by sitting at a chair of a director who has no idea on what is happening in the surroundings. So on a personal level I completely agree, and fortunately I have directed my own research in that way. So in front of our main building we see dedicated to the service of the nation. At some point of time, because of a part of the lettering falling down, I saw dedicated to the vice of the nation. And at the then whoever was the director quickly rectified it. But in a large way, uh, what I would say is that what we have done for the service of the nation. Let us, you have been an IITian, I am here for a long period of time. So if we cannot criticize ourselves, who will? Hmm. So over a long period of time, we have heard from our seniors and many other people, and fortunately at present the situation is changing because of huge opportunities in India, that any IITian, be student, be faculty, is someone who has the feet on IIT campus but mind at some western location. So and I see from my early career that in any opportunity to a BTech student, when that quote unquote foreign terminology comes, somehow that the saliva secretes more from the mouth. And this is something we cannot ignore, all of us. I do not know from which family background you come. I come from a very modest middle class family background. So for us, when we were very young in school, junior school, going abroad was a great thing. Doesn't matter whether you are going for a gas station or this petrol pump work, or sweeping work somewhere or serving in a restaurant. Going abroad, so someone going abroad at some point of time would be garlanded in the locality, and the esteem or prestige of your parents will also go up. I have seen those days. Now those days are may not be there, but we are reasonably much older than you, so we have seen more world than all of you. Our seniors have seen more, of course. So that is a perception which sort of, if you now fragment it and decode it, it all boils down to like having a different mindset about KGP as a location, IIT KGP as a location. Frankly speaking, when I was at the end of my class 12 and I got the admission at IIT KGP, I found two things which were uncomfortable to me. I'm speaking very frankly because now I have nothing to lose if I tell all those. Number one, there was a very sensitive ragging incidents in one of the preceding years, which was apparently such that at the very beginning of in those days, after that we had the special arrangement of the first year students being taken special care and all those things. But someone, it seemed that he had to fall from a some place in the balcony or somewhere, and the life was lost. I do not know really what was the reason, but the entire media and all those things, it came up in a way that I found that not just my parents, several parents felt that no, let our children's life be there properly, let them not get IIT education, that is not important. The other thing is that even KGP as a location, being someone who has been born and brought up at a very heart and central part of Kolkata, South Kolkata, it was a bit of a shock for me to realize that I have to stay in this place just to get that IIT brand and nothing else. So in that way, now also if you see the modified version of that, is that people say that IIT Bombay is great, IIT Delhi is great, IIT Madras is great, and no one from say top 100 JEE advanced rank, except maybe one or two, would like to imagine that they will study at IIT Kharagpur. They will say either of these IITs or these maths and computing or data sciences at IISc. These are some of the, you can say, favorite subjects and destinations. Computer science, for example, people talk about IIT Bombay computer science. The great teachers of those who are now teachers of IIT Bombay computer science are there at IIT Kharagpur, and they are among the best teachers in the subject. You all know very well, I'm not naming, and it is a privilege to learn from these teachers. So there is no academic reason to believe that IIT Bombay or IIT Delhi will be better in terms of those. So there is a perception, and perception is driven not always by academics, but also many other things which I think we have to look into. We have to look into it sensitively. We cannot say no, we don't care, let KGP remain that primitive place and all this. No, it can't be like that. So that is why you may have heard that I have a special thing in mind about the drive towards an ideal campus improvement program and development program, so which will make everybody feel that this is our destination. starting from infrastructure to the quality of life, everything. So we have a great opportunity. Think about our tech market. All of us have some complaints about tech market. Go to any other IIT, you will not get this kind of tech market
Yeah.
where you get from barber shop to milk and everything. The reason is that in many other IITs, if you go a little bit outside, you will get many things. Here it is challenging, so we are trying to have almost every essentials, if not great things, inside the thing. So that means we are already ahead in terms of campus development because of our need. So how can we do it better? That is what it is. So I think that overall it's about perception rather than reality. If you make a reality check, and by knowing all the IITs and ISC, and I have been a student of ISC for 2 of my degrees, so with all due respect, these are all great places, but there is no reason to believe that IIT KGP has a dearth of what you say as intellectual facility or academic facility to groom or nurture people from the BTech students to faculty.
Yeah, thank you for speaking so eloquently on this. You also spoke a little bit about the IQ versus EQ difference that you saw in some of the students. They may be brilliant, but they're not treating others really well. In also, you mentioned the PhD and the MTechs are treated as second-class citizens within the campus. Yep, we have also been part of that kind of culture, like we used to call them matkas. It was kind of a derogatory term. We used to not
Yeah,
involve
yeah,
them in none
exactly,
of the
exactly, exactly.
all the sports activities or even the other cultural activities that goes on inside the campus that makes it so beautiful. We kind of excluded them a lot. But then again, comes the topic of the mental health as well. So these are very specific examples. Also, KGP in the recent times have had almost 3 to 4 suicides as well. Assuming it's mostly academics related. So, what are some of the steps that you as a director will also take to make the life of students as well as the other faculty members also better, because everyone is in a lot of stress as well.
No, I would no, I would summarize it by one statement that in a bit of a light mood I told in the yesterday's thing, that when the new students come every year, by statutory requirement, we have posters all around the campus with the heading ragging in any form is banned. Unfortunately, we relate that with ragging of first year students, or so that is very important, but that is one component. Ragging in any form, and that you are talking about, that having a prejudice and caste system, to marginalize anyone based on caste, creed, whatever, level of studies, and even a senior faculty marginalizing junior faculty, administrator marginalizing someone, this is all ragging. So we require a cultural transformation, and that we will initiate, particularly for students. I will sum it up by saying that we will have a combination of technology driven program, so that they have some automated ways of expressing themselves, not always just when they are mentally unwell, but also when they are mentally well, because otherwise they may be mentally well, but there may be issues which may make them mentally unwell at some other point of time. Who knows? Today I am mentally well, tomorrow I may be mentally unwell. So that doesn't mean that I am a permanent mentally disabled person. Now, these are all time dependent things, and usually situations trigger. So how we can take that automated input and translate into a screening where the further remedial action is no more automated, it is being guided by a human touch. And that human touch, we will of course have our task force of campus group who will do that, but we will more actively engage the mothers who are there on campus in a way that not really in an amateurish way. We'll try to give them some kind of counseling knowledge, or basic workshop based training, and then they will be free to interface with these young kids. I know many of them are exactly of the same age as their own son or daughter, or some may be a bit younger, some may be older, but they can relate it very easily. And I would recommend that they just mix with them like mother, but do not overparent like most of our mothers. They have a balance, and then they take them to occasional tea, coffee, dinner, and all. And we will be very happy to provide full funding support from some source to do that. So this is what is. So overall, if you say my philosophy of getting into cutting edge research or campus life, everything is a blend of human touch with the most modern technology.
Wonderful. Like, it's very relevant in our times as well, because with the advent of AI, it seems as if more and more machines are taking
Yeah,
over the
yeah.
human
I
touch.
think that takes us possibly to the next discussion. That what
Yeah.
about AI? The advantage or limitation of AI both have to be carefully understood. Uh, when we were very young, a very common essay would come in our exams, be English or be mother tongue exam. Is science blessing or curse? I think at your young days you may
Yeah.
have also written a similar thing, but now that is not relevant. Now the equivalent essay is AI blessing or curse. Okay, so what I would say is that it is exactly the same spirit in which we answered whether science is a blessing or a curse. It depends on how we use it. A matured use of science is a blessing, an immature use of science is a devastation, like a nuclear war or something which can kill many people. AI is also like that. The challenge is that for AI, it is more severe because a nuclear weapon will not come to the hand of a child. At least someone who has an age now, whether the person is mentally that mature or not is a different thing, but at least that physical age is crossed. But AI is in the hand of someone who can hold smartphone, maybe a child less than 1 year age. And that that kind of child starts picking up those things so fast that senior people like us cannot, because they have that they are more modern in terms of their genetic advancement. So I cannot write the Python code so elegantly as I can do possibly a C code because of my natural training. You people can, your younger ones can do even better. So the whole idea is that it all depends on how you use and how you interpret. I will give you two examples. These are light examples, but these are important. So we are all very much fancied by our smartwatches. No matter you are a young kid or a very senior person, and senior person sometimes they in an effort to show that they are more tech savvy, they will like to adapt to it in a different way. So many people I see that they are jogging or walking, always in seeing that all those how body vitals are coming, how many steps they have covered, etc. In our younger days when we used to play whatever cricket or something, at the end of the day I think we never counted anything in anything. It was a pleasure that used to come out. Now everything is in number. So there is a story that someone who is sort of jogging in a forest, and looking into the smartwatch, and suddenly the smartwatch is saying that you have done a great job, you have lost your weight by this much of pounds or so. The person was initially satisfied, but suddenly he starts feeling a pain, and he realizes the wolf had come and eaten up one part of the arm, and that is why weight has gone down to by whatever amount that. So it all shows this is AI, right? But it all shows that what is a wrong interpretation of what is a correct fact.
Yeah.
Another example that I give, and that's the only two examples, and then I will tell what is that new thing that we can do. Maybe couple of years back, with my family I was traveling in France, and that was for the first time my son was exposed to the TGV train, which is one of the fastest trains in the world. And he had that smartwatch, very at that time it was new to him. So these trains, are very fast, sometimes traveling at 200 kilometers plus per hour. So in a quick period of time, we reached our destination, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, I cannot remember exactly. And the smartwatch said, "You have done a great job by covering this." So the whole thing is, you have to see the interpretation. So there has to be something which will always refine the AI with the blend of human intelligence or human aspect which the AI cannot provide, which we call as human centric AI or interface of human with AI. At countries where human resources are rare or the population is less, it is very difficult to practice it. In India, I think it's quite easy to practice it. We can make a blended use of the human resource intelligence and the machine intelligence and take us to new things. Like, for example, you were talking about this mental health. So we came to a point where we could decode something with the help of AI and then migrate it towards human centric things. So that smooth migration of an entire technology from AI to a human centric one, and by to and fro coordination, by making the AI more learn from the human centric one by deep learning or whatever, make it more human centric AI. I think that we can do much better, and I would request our top AI experts on the institute to develop certain programs, including the smart administration system with this, what we say as human centric AI.
What do you mean by the smart administration system? Is it something new?
Smart administration is very simple. Say you are a student, you want to go abroad and you require an NOC for your visa. This is a very common thing. As students, you require, as faculty also, I require when I go for a visa. So you see, you have to write to your faculty advisor. Faculty advisor will put it to the HOD. HOD will send it to the dean's office. Dean's office, someone will study something, will get back to something. When all this is done, then establishment section will give it. But if you are a valid student of an institute and there is no interference of the period of that what you are looking for as you leave with anything else for which you are bounded by your service or studentship, which will automatically come out from your ERP data, then this should be an automated printout, right? And to make sure that the automated system has not made a mistake, there will be a final human interface which will check just this automated thing, so that there is no wrong issue of NOC and all these things. So that is what I mean by this one example, but I think there could be many such examples.
Yeah, great. So coming to the next question of in field of AI is what jobs do you see being relevant in the next 5 to 10 years? Because the traditional jobs, the white collar jobs, are kind of in the threat or maybe danger of AI being replaced. But what other jobs or markets do you see emerging from this?
See, in any job, I do not see AI completely replacing humans in any job. I am in a teaching job, so I give you an example. So you will be aware that I have quite a few NPTEL courses, which are there online, and for it's my fortune that these are quite popular to most of the students. So every year I go to teach something in the physical class where already that NPTEL lecture is there. Books are there. So what is my job? Is my job to reproduce what is there in those. If someone who has attended my classes and maybe has seen the classes to evolve every year, it has a bit of element which cannot be readily retrieved from those even my own pre-recorded lectures that I have in the recent time. So as a teacher, my job is to not just move with the tide how things are moving, but also set up a direction for the future, and in that way interpret in between lines which you do not find in just information and what you come through chat GPT and Google search. This year I had made, as a teacher I make many experiments in teaching learning. So in the last year, in one of my microfluidics exams, mid-sem exam, I set up a 10 questions where I gave the questions and ChatGPT generated answers, and prepared a question paper from that, and gave the students an opportunity to sit in front of the computer and get any open web resource except any chat platform, because that can give access to certain things which will compromise with the integrity of the exam. And there were my teaching assistants to look into that. And then they were free to consult, old papers or whatever technical scientific materials alongside my own video lectures anyway there. The questions were the deeper interpretations of the chat GPT generated answers, and at some places where those answers have gone wrong. So this is a clear example. So I have tried to prove that chat GPT cannot replace that part of teaching learning, though it can get better with inputs and so on. Who gives inputs to these AIs? These are humans of the highest intellectual level and creativity, and that would remain. So there are two types of, in terms of job: humans with the highest set of creativity and intellectual endeavor. No AI will replace them. The challenge is with mediocre so-called clerical people, and that is where I think AI can completely replace them, completely, and they do a much better job than the average clerical type of work.
More routine jobs, right?
Even in teaching, even in administration, to a large extent in all professions. So what do we do about that? So there is no other way. I'm sorry, there is no other way. One has to be adaptive to this. Either you may be super creative, or having a special contribution, or having a contribution where AI will be having with that human centric approach or human touch, where you will become relevant or he will remain relevant, or the dissemination of the AI based thing. But what is more important is the way in which we just do not depend on jobs, we create jobs through different forms of entrepreneurship, deep tech startups and all. And I would like to foster such platform where students will get more into the startups in a way that will become a part and parcel of the culture of their academic development.
So, concluding part one podcast with Professor Suman Chakraborty, we discussed on the broader topics. Discussed on mental health, and how we can foster a more India-centric approach towards research. We discussed a little bit of AI with human-centric approach as well. We'll try to reach Professor Chakraborty again with the second part, which will be coming soon. So thank you all for listening, and please like, subscribe, and share. We'll listen from Professor soon. Thank you,
Thank you,
Professor.
Somnath, and goodbye for today.